I met Neil through watches and Instagram
Okay.
when we were both starting out. He ended up buying a few off of me, and then he started the Forward Mastermind. So I thought, why not? If he supported my business, I should support his. Life hacks that I've learned is wherever you want to be, two things: find a mentor that's already going there or gone there, or join a mastermind of like-minded individuals.
I joined it because I wanted to do better video, and I wanted to do videos that were for sellers. I actually wanted to attract sellers.
Okay.
I really blew up. I went from 4 people to 30 people, and I'm the 3rd largest team in Nevada. Welcome to the Agent Entrepreneur Podcast. This is a place where I help agents who usually get ran by their business build a business by interviewing other business owners like yourself. And Justin Fetty, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, so long story short, I've been in the military for 27 years.
Okay.
And 5 years ago, I decided I didn't want to work for anybody else anymore. So I've always been a side hustle guy, and I used to flip vehicles, and that was taking up too much of my time with 2 young daughters and a wife. So through some soul searching kinda, I've always loved watches, and I came upon reselling watches instead of vehicles. A lot less work because I can contract that out. And 5 years later, I'm working my way out of the military, and here we are.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I've known you for 4 years now.
Yep.
And you're our group's Rolly dealer. You know, everyone except me. I have a deal. Actually, I'm taking this from Mike Wood. He told me that his first Rolex, did he ever tell you the story?
I don't think so.
The first Rolex he ever bought, he purchased for himself after he netted $1 million in 1 year. So I want to do the same. I can buy one, and I'm tempted to.
Yeah.
But I want it to mean something.
Okay.
And I know there's a bunch of stories behind every watch. What's one of the craziest stories that you've ever seen? And what was the watch?
So I don't know about crazy stories, but it is true. The majority of people you ask about their watches, it's not just the value of it per se, but it's the story behind it. Just recently, we had the pleasure of being talked to by Daniel Priestley.
Yeah.
Same thing, Rolex he bought after he sold one of his companies, and he also bought his business partner one. This one I'm wearing actually was meant to be a resale, and when I got it, it had the warranty card dated for the exact date of my oldest daughter's birthday, so that's no longer for sale. But it's just the story behind it, whether it be a successful business venture, whether it be a newborn baby, maybe a new watch for when you got married. There's lots of stories behind it. So one of the craziest stories that I've heard was actually an orange Breitling. And it was a deep-rooted thing with a guy who he grew up and he kind of always followed his parents' lead.
Okay.
And so he didn't really have his own emotions and thoughts. Like his parents are like, oh, your favorite color is blue, whenever they would ask him. And eventually he came to realize that these aren't my own feelings and emotions. It was just kind of fed to me by my parents and those around me.
Okay.
So he actually made an Instagram post about this and becoming his own person. And he ended the post saying that my favorite color isn't blue, it's actually orange. And so with a business deal, a friend of ours actually bought him an orange dial Breitling because of that post.
Okay.
Nothing expensive, but it's just like coming into his own and realizing that my life isn't dictated by these other people, whether it be parents, friends, or anything like that.
Right.
These are actually my own feelings over here, and now it's time to realize that. And yeah,
We've been doing a lot of that in Forward. We've been like looking deep, dealing
Yeah.
with childhood stuff. I mean, it's been getting real. How has that affected your path as far as like being a watch dealer, getting out there on social media,
Yeah.
you know, going viral?
Yep. So that one, yeah, viral, that's a wishy-washy. But, well, first of all, I got into that because I met Neil through watches and Instagram
Okay.
when we were both starting out. He ended up buying a few off of me, and then he started the Forward Mastermind. So I thought, why not? If he supported my business, I should support his. So I went to that Vegas event 3 years ago, I believe.
Yeah.
And ended up joining and going back to being in the military and middle class, nothing wrong with that most of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't know people that could purchase luxury watches, you know, just kind of on a whim. So it was kind of a two-pronged. I wanted to learn real estate and real estate investing.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to grow my network with higher net worth individuals and learn social media at the same time. So it was kind of a three-pronged attack, and I've talked about this in other videos, but life hacks that I've learned is wherever you want to be, two things: find a mentor that's already going there or gone there, or join a mastermind of like-minded individuals where you can learn from and you don't have to kind of forge that own path on your own.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's saved me so many mistakes and pitfalls along the way.
It's definitely leveled me up, and you, I believe. I mean, your videos are awesome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, the videographer, he's all right though. He's just decent. He's just whatever. Yeah.
Another key thing: find a good videographer.
Yeah, we have the same videographer, and he's great.
So
He's sitting right to our left here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or right.
Or right.
So going back to that though, you, if I recall, you've only been in the real estate game for 4 or 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. So basically the same time I've been in the Washington. And you found great success. So what are some of the things that you've learned through the mastermind and maybe mentorship that you can?
Man, I've learned a lot. I knew Neil right after I got into real estate. So right after I got in, a friend of mine was working for him and we started at the same time. And so I met him through her. Her name was Julie Zander.
Okay.
And Julie's like, you got to check this guy out. He's doing these cool videos, and he had a podcast and he had the titles flying up on his videos. And I'm like, man, this is cool. And he would, since I was working with one of his people, he would call me and invite me to some of these infamous classes. I was actually in a few of those classes that he shows in front of all the big crowds, like I was doing a class with 8 people and all those people sucked, and I was one of those people, and Trevor was one of those people. He didn't actually say the suck part, but I'm one of those people who's pretty hard-headed, and I think I'm smarter than I am. And so I just decided to emulate instead of study someone who was ahead. And I started doing social media on my own for 30 days straight. I did all my own reels. I edited them all. I did all of my own music, wrote every single one of them to kind of launch myself into that.
Yeah.
And I was still missing like the traction that I wanted to get better. And so he called me again to go to Forward 2. I didn't go to the first one. And I was there and I joined the mastermind. I met you. And I joined it because I wanted to do better video, and I wanted to do videos that were for sellers. I actually wanted to attract sellers.
Okay.
And I was trying that, doing that, and what ended up happening was I ended up attracting a bunch of agents. And I didn't know that I wanted to build a big team. At the time, I had a team of 4, and it was me, my business partner, and 2 others. It was Joey Raymond and Feather Dugan, who are still with me to this day.
Okay.
And from the point of doing Forward and joining another coaching program, which was with Mike Wood. He's since spun off and started his own, and I followed him to that. I really blew up. I went from the 4 people to 30 people, and I'm the 3rd largest team in Nevada. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty freaking crazy. Not that I don't like to talk about it, but I like to focus on solving problems and on the agents who have partnered with me to kind of promote them and teach them the same things that I've learned. But it's really changed my life, to be honest.
Yeah, that's an amazing amount of success in 5 years, especially through a time of rising interest rates and everybody bailing out. I can't remember the statistic I saw, but I want to say like 50% of real estate agents and lenders have dropped out. It might even be more than that.
Yeah, with lenders, when we started Forward, there was, I think, over 1 million, and now there's just over 300,000.
Yeah.
With realtors, there was 4 million, and there's a lot of realtors still, because we always kind of chase the lending trajectory. We're always a little behind them. So I think we're going to see some fallout over the next 12 months, and it's really gone from something where you could part-time hustle it and make 100K to now it's got to be your profession. You've got to really be good at it. You got to study the game, and you've got to be excellent problem solver for the people who are looking for help. And I'm talking like crazy problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could part-time something to make 100K.
You can. Join up, dude.
No,
I'm ready.
No, this is what I love.
But how many watches have you sold? Do you know? Off the top of your head?
In 5 years, rough estimate off the top of my head, about 400.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
So, it ranges, there's different years, but it ranges between 50 and 70 per year.
50 and 70 per year.
Yeah.
So just the side gig, what are you pulling down with that?
Not as much as people may think.
Yeah? Well, we don't have to go there, but we talked about it.
Yep. So again, being in the military for 27 years, I never had a ton of money.
Yeah.
So I figured out a way where I could leverage credit to start building the business.
Okay.
So, like every other business, once you start growing it, you're going to come to a point where unless you're, wealthy on your own,
Right.
you're going to come to a point where you need to borrow money from somebody else.
Okay.
Especially for watches, right? Because
Yeah.
inventory is astronomical. Imagine being, home ownership is one thing because you can leverage that money with little down. But when you have watches that are ranging from 10,000, well, we'll even call it 2,000 to 100,000, it takes a lot of money just for a little bit of inventory.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to leverage credit to grow that. And it's kind of a fine line between an inventory perspective and trying to source watches.
Okay.
So I've built a network of other dealers where, like, let's say you come to me for a watch and I don't have it on hand because you can't store every watch on the planet. It's just
Right.
impossible. So then I would reach out to these other people and say, hey, Lee's looking for a Rolex Submariner. I don't have one at the time. Can you please quote me? And then I could then give you the price and we could kind of work or broker the deal that way. So inventory usually isn't a ton, anywhere between 5 and 20 watches, but being able to broker it through other dealers and brick and mortar shops and stuff like that is kind of where you're able to bridge the gap and be able to get any watch that anybody wants at almost any given time. Depends on the rarity, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That gives me two things to unpack. One is leveraging credit. I hear about this a lot. Lenders, of course, are like gifted at it, right?
Yeah.
They're good at it. I'm decent. I'm not as good as them. I'm not even going to play. How did you learn how to do it, and how did you do it right? Because I know many people who do it wrong.
Okay.
So talk to us about like how much credit you need, how to be responsible, how'd you get it, being a new business owner,
Okay.
all that.
I probably didn't do it right from the get-go, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there's difference between personal credit and business credit, I learned. So as you grow a business, you're able to apply for those business lines of accounting, and it doesn't tie into personal really unless stuff really goes wrong and you don't have things set up right. But so as I grew, I was able to apply for business lines of credit or, credit cards, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So using that, it was I've always been somewhat decent at math. So you have to kind of calculate because if somebody offers you $1 million worth of credit, doesn't mean you should necessarily take it.
Right.
Because it might cost you so much in interest that you're getting buried every month and you're not able to take that. So
True.
It's kind of a fine line between what you're able to sell and use and being able to cover the interest that goes along with all that stuff. Me and Fidel have talked recently about credit cards.
Yeah.
And so being Amex or any other credit card, using that, you can actually, with the points that you receive, especially in something like watch business, right? I spend a pretty decent amount of money through that. And with the points that come with it, you can actually not leverage it towards more watches, but let's say you wanted to fly to Maui with your family or go to Disneyland or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just using your credit card for the business you're in, whether it be real estate, watches, freaking anything out there, toy shop.
Okay.
You can use those points and actually earn things like free hotels, free flights, free whatever. And
I like that.
yeah.
Do you got your wallet on you?
Do I? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do a card check. Let's talk about what we got. So and I want your opinion on points or cashback. So this is a blue card cashback one that treats me really good.
What's the percentage cash back you get on that?
I think it's up to 6% on certain things. So there's like all these different categories. There's like groceries, gas, definitely 6. And then it goes down from there. There's like subscriptions on Disney Plus, things like that. This is another cashback one, US Bank. It's nothing special. Again, I can get up to 5% cashback on like retail and different things. Yeah. But this is something I have to select the categories every 6 months. I got my Hilton Honors here. This one's really good because you can get 18, it's either 16 or 18 times points when staying at a Hilton property.
Jeez.
So I stay at Hilton properties for most of my travels, and then I have a timeshare with Hilton. Okay. So it definitely works out for me, and I get usually at least one free night a year, and I can use that night at any Hilton property, including like Waldorf Astoria.
Yeah.
So I've used that to hack my way into some crazy places. And then I'm an Amex person, so I've got a gold card here. This is a business gold card, and this gets me, I don't know the exact points, but I think it's 4 times points on the 4 largest categories that I spend on in my business.
Okay.
So that's good. And then I got a platinum card, and this gives me access to the Centurion lounges, and it also gives me, I think, 5 times points on air travel and certain hotels.
Yep.
So it all ties in together, and with these, I can usually go take the family, to your point, to Hawaii or Disneyland at least once a year for free.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And just by using these on my business, I don't spend extra to do it.
Yeah.
So what do you got, Fetty?
Yep, same. So my main one is the Amex Platinum.
Okay.
So that one is what I use to purchase a lot of watches. So that one, it may not seem like a lot. It's only anything under 5,000 is 1%. Anything over 5,000 is 1.5.
Okay.
But what comes with that is what do they call it? I think it's it's not a limitless credit. It's based on your spend history. So like a normal credit card, some people's might be as low as 1,000. Some people, if you have a ton of credit, up to 50.
Yeah.
But the Amex is kind of a revolving deal where you can spend upwards, I mean, depending on your purchase history. I know people in the millions. They spend $1 million a month, no problem. Instead of a normal credit card where people use it just for groceries, gas, and stuff like that, which is probably, let's call it 30,000 a year, which is a good amount, but 6% of 30,000 doesn't even compare to 1.5% of $1 million a year. So that's kind of where you get the big points, where you can get the free flights, hotels, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually get people that ask me all the time, like, how do you pay for all this stuff on credit card points? And I have to say, well, I end up spending a lot more than the normal person because I have to fund the business over here, whereas they may be just buying groceries, gas, candy bars and stuff like that at Maverick. So
yeah, the thing with the Amex is, full disclosure too, is the ones that Justin and I have, we have to pay off every month in full, no payments there. So you got to remember that. But it does give you time. It is a way to use and leverage money. It gives me a month, and it's definitely part of my business. All right, Fetty. So the money is in the margins. So let's go back and talk about your business, your overall revenue in 12 months. Tell us what that number is, and then let's talk about the margin there, like how much you're able to keep, and like what looks like a good margin in the watch business and what doesn't.
Okay. So the watch biz, it depends a lot on the brand, right? So Rolex has probably the smallest amount of margins until you get to the more specialized, higher end, $50,000 plus. Whereas, lower known brands, Omega, Audemars Piguet, Patek, things like that, have higher margins. And I believe that it's because everybody knows what Rolex is. I've talked about that. And so you can go on any website and look up Rolex, and let's just call it a Submariner, you can look kind of what the baseline price is. So if you call me looking for that watch, I can't necessarily try to make a 20% margin on it, because you're going to be able to find it for a lot less somewhere else. On the flip side, the volume's high because everybody knows what it is and everybody wants one. It's almost like we'll call it a middle class house, right?
Yeah.
So that volume there, I assume for you, is going to be a lot higher than the $5 million homes, where, I mean, your margin's kind of set. So no. Yeah.
There was a big lawsuit about it being set. It is not set. It's 100% negotiable.
Oh, okay.
100% negotiable.
So, but okay, well, we can go into that, but
yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah, it depends on the brand. Like, so Rolex, I would say the average margin is only 5%-ish.
Okay.
Whereas there's other watch brands where I've made upwards of 25%. So yeah, it's just the volume on Rolex is what drives that. And the key in the watch business, well, actually any business, right, is turnover. Yeah. When you got inventory, you want to turn that over as often as you can to be able to get new money in, buy new inventory, and sell that. So homes, I would assume, is the same, but maybe you can expound on that?
Yeah, sure. So homes it's a little different because this is the only business, well, I don't know if it's the only business, but one of the only businesses where I don't have inventory. I've got to find it. And we were actually talking about that earlier. The agents who do really well are good about having a pulse, at least on the people that they know and what they're going to do in the future, even if it's far out. So let's say, Fetty, you wanted to sell your house in 5 years, and you wanted to get $1 million for it, or $1 million plus, which I think it's going to be worth in like 5 years.
That's the way things are going.
So and you're like, man, call me if someone is interested in this house, but not for, I wouldn't even know where to take my family. Well, then I meet buyers who come in a lot. I meet a lot of buyers, and they're like, man, I'm looking for this specific thing and I keep losing. And so out of all my network, I kind of search in my head. I actually have a database and I just compare like, who can I match this with? And a lot of the times it's with people who are off the market. So then I can represent both sides and bring that deal together. And let's say that this was year 3 out of your 5 years down the road. I would say, listen, I know a guy who has a house that fits your needs, but he wants to sell it in the future for this much. I think the only way to get his attention is to offer him this much. And then we just start the conversation. And sometimes it goes somewhere, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the margin piece in my business is there's like a customary rate, I'm not allowed to talk about the percentages with people who aren't licensed, unfortunately.
Okay.
But the percentages, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 usually, And, on my side, it's half of that. So whatever number you're thinking of, chop that in half, and that represents the revenue that I receive.
Okay.
And it's negotiable. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, I have to negotiate that with you. And I have to tell you why I deserve it. But here's the thing where most people get it wrong in my business, and that's they ask for what they want before they tell them why they deserve it.
Okay.
Or before they demonstrate the problem that they can solve. So, I'm dealing with quite a few people right now. One lives in Ohio and has a house here that she inherited that needs a bunch of work, and she wants to sell it relatively soon. I've got people going through divorces. I've got people, inheriting homes, just like I said. I've got people who need to move, and I just keep that all in my brain. And as I meet people who are looking to buy from out of town, I try to match them up. And the whole time I'm helping these sellers get to where they want to be, and that gives them the confidence to earn what I make. But my revenue last year was in excess of $3 million, but most of that goes to the agents. 70% of that at least goes to the real estate agents on the team. They're the ones doing most of the work.
Yeah.
In my personal business, where I represent the buyers or sellers, the margins are different. I keep almost all of it.
Yeah.
And then you kind of base that on what you want. And in my business, and most people don't even do this, but in my business, if you keep 50% of what you make in revenue, you're winning. Most people, they try to keep 100%. And what that does is that makes them cap, like at levels of productivity. Like whether you're selling, 50 or 100 homes, which is a lot for one person, you can't get beyond that. You can't get into the hundreds like I am without leveraging it out, letting go of some control and some margin in order to fuel your growth. That's what I teach on the team and to other agents and stuff like that.
Okay.
So the money is definitely in the margins, and knowing what works for your business is the key to crushing it.
Yep. And to go along with that, so I heard we'll go a 2-pronged attack here.
Okay.
So helping people is the number one way to make money, right? So
Yes.
Homes, like you talked about, people getting divorced, maybe a loved one has passed away, they've inherited something. The watch game kind of goes in the same realm where someone might call me and say, hey, I think I want a Rolex Submariner, but I'm not sure. And helping those people kind of navigate that, because there's so many things in that price range.
Yeah.
And so many variables. So they might not even like the Rolex Submariner, but that's what everybody has. So I get a lot of people saying, what are your thoughts? Always, what are your thoughts? I want this.
Yeah.
These 3 watches, but what are your thoughts? What's the difference between this, this, and this? So helping people goes a long way in any business, because if it's just transactional, right?
Right.
Just like, Lee, I need to sell my home. My grandma died. Okay, yeah, it'll be this price, this, and this. And then it's transactional. They're not going to refer you.
Right.
Once you build the relationships, then you're going to get referrals from these people, and your business is going to thrive because people appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
Whether it be homes, purses, watches, toys. And I have kids, man, the toys are out of control. But
Yeah, the toys are out of control.
all right, the second thing is overhead, and not only overhead, but in life, there's opportunity costs, right?
Yeah.
So you talked about being capped out, and you can, let's say you make $250,000 a year as a single real estate agent.
Yeah.
And you just stay there forever because you're afraid to grow. And this goes for a lot of people. My sister owns a barbershop, and I've been trying to explain that to her because she's afraid if she hires other people into that shop, she'll lose business. But you may experience a negative effect at the beginning. And same thing with watches. If you spend, let's say, an hour a week mowing your own lawn,
Yeah.
that could take away from something that you could be gaining from your business
Yeah.
with that hour. So with overhead and hiring more agents in the watch business, accountants, things like that, bookkeepers, those people, even though you may see it as a negative at the beginning, like, oh man, I got to pay this guy how much?
Yeah.
Or it's going to cost me this. this to do this, in the long run, not only will it keep the IRS off you in that instance, but there's people that you can pay to help you and grow. And I know you've talked about this where it's scary at first because you're like, man, my overhead is this much.
Right.
But in the beginning, it hurt you-ish a little bit, but in the long run, how has it helped you?
Oh, but it wouldn't even be possible to sit here and pay Fidel.
Yeah.
Honestly, like Fidel is a Gucci thing. Like, it's a sign that I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I always wanted to hire him actually, and I had to get there. I think people get in trouble when they just try and keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And do something that they're not ready to do, you know? But I think one of the keys is keeping in mind what you want to do, like having a vision when you start. When I got into real estate, I had a vision to have a team. One of the most successful times in my life, actually all the successful times in my life were having a team. So my mission when I got in was to demonstrate success. So to actually do what I was going to teach, because no one cares about what you say unless you're successful.
Yep.
Documenting that, training a few people, and that was Joey and Feather. Both of them, well, Feather definitely she's going to make well over $250,000 on my team this year. So that's a great feeling. Joey's over 100K. You know, many of them are over 100K. And then profitable growth. So it kind of red light, green light, like having goals. Like, you know, if you want a photographer, if you want an office, you set that goal, you set up the bankroll, which is, okay, an office is going to cost $1,400 a month. If I want this, then I need 3 to 4 times that amount in savings, and then I can go ahead and get that office and then keep up with that growth, you know, keep up with that cost. And so my rule of thumb with expenses is at 3 months positive, I can go ahead and get one of my goals, whether that's a computer, an office, hire a videographer, whatever that might be. If things are bad for 2 months, then I need to scale back. And you also need to have a plan to scale back. It can't be like one of those oh shit moments where you're like, everyone's fired and I'm closing everything down. Yeah. You've got to know that if your revenue's down, where you're going to cut and how you're going to do it. And you can also offset when you have a team. So I'm still in production. So if my team isn't doing well, I can increase my own production. If my, you know, and actually I'm getting crap from my coaches for not maintaining a higher level of production, because everyone falls in line when you have a high level of production as a team leader. Like, they're your mirror. If you're upset with how they're producing, it's because you're not demonstrating what you're asking them to do. It's a crazy thing, but my overhead right now is over $20,000 a month. Now, I already told you that I'm happy if I make 50% of that, so that kind of shows you where I'm at, but it swings back and forth. You know, in the summertime, between April and August, it's way more than double. But in the wintertime, it's way less than 50%. So I'm aiming for a 50% margin over a 12-month period. And that's how I kind of keep track of my business and how I grow. And I have goals. You know, I want a bigger room because Fidel was basically, you know, I know, squeezing around here trying to set this thing up. But this is where we're at. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to do all this with you guys. But it's something that can bury you. And I guess the other thing I can say is that when you go into your business, you should talk to that mentor. I didn't learn, I was taught these margins. I didn't know them or guess them. You know, I was taught this. And once I knew that I had to live off that amount of revenue, not the whole thing. The hit comes from when you're used to having some sort of lifestyle, and when the time comes to grow, you can't take that financial haircut. And that's when I'm going to pass you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel that because there's been months that I've done very well in the watch business. And then if you think back to COVID, if anybody was following watch prices, and not only watches, luxury goods in general, they went just through the roof. So I actually got kind of excited for a while, even though I knew
you got excited.
Deep down, that prices never go exponential forever.
Right.
Whether it be watches, stock market, houses, everything's got to come back to a normal level. But there was a few watches that I bought at the height. And then once that corrected during COVID, I took some pretty significant haircuts. So it's kind of, when you own your own business, right, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. And I actually tell my wife sometimes, because I try to be open, I say, well, this is what happened today. And I tell her, usually I say, well, lesson learned. And she's like, how many of these lessons do we have to learn? All of them. But So yeah, in business, I mean, you're not, like you said, there's not always going to be, I mean, even if you have, let's say 6 months to a year, and I heard for real estate agents back in the beginning of COVID, I mean, it was deals of just being fed to you like nothing. Watch business was kind of the same way. And a lot of people got lackadaisical, to include myself at one point, and you thought you were just going to make money like that forever. And then things came back to reality. And if you don't have those safety nets or cutbacks planned, like you said,
Yeah.
it can get really bad really fast. So you definitely have to plan for not only the wins, but the losses.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that can make you second guess yourself like nobody's business.
You just, man, I get punched in the face every day. You were just talking about it, like
Yeah.
taking those licks, taking those hits.
Yep.
I think the people who aren't afraid to do that are the ones who succeed.
Yep.
I think all the stuff that you and I know, all these little nuggets that we're dropping,
Yeah.
we paid an extremely high price for. And the only reason that I do this is hopefully someone out there listens and kind of zigs where we zagged and doesn't get smashed and put out of business, because I see that too. I see people get put out of business, friends of mine who can no longer continue to do what they love because they didn't know some of the ins and outs of what happens when it doesn't go right.
Yep.
And yeah, you've got to have a plan for all of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, being in the military 27 years, right out of high school, and even before then, I was working a 9 to 5. So I finally got to a point where I didn't want to do that anymore. Like, I think there's more to life than just checking in for somebody else, putting parts on a shelf or serving food or what, I mean, even making computer software, right? But it takes risk. You can go create your own business, but there's a pretty decent chance that you're going to fail. You're going to get punched in the face daily, like we said.
Yeah.
The people that take the risks are usually the ones that do okay in life.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, you just got to keep learning, keep innovating. It took me, I mean, I'm 45 now, so it took me a lot of years to learn what some people do in their early 20s.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody's different, so I don't try to put that on the table. But yeah, so I feel like if you complacent, go try something, go do your passion. Like Fidel, he's doing crazy with content. I actually cheated with him.
Yeah.
So you said that you started doing your videos in the beginning and editing and all that.
Yeah.
I took it as kind of a risk, and I'm not good with computers and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I would rather just pay somebody and let's see where this takes me.
Yeah.
And so I did that, talking about overhead, and he's definitely not cheap by any means. However,
Yeah.
but just growing the Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that, I've actually started reaping the benefits, because I've had people DM me in Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, things like that. People that I would have never met in person, Philadelphia, New York, Florida, local in Reno. And just because I built that online presence, which we could talk about also, is the currency of the future.
Yeah.
Once you establish that presence, people feel like they know you. And so, like recently, the guy from Philadelphia, he reached out to me at the beginning of Forward Mastermind, and he said, hey, can you source this Omega watch? And I said, well, yeah. And then I try to make it non-transactional. So I introduced myself. What are you looking for? This may be the price range, you know. And I said, just for kind of tracking purposes, where did you get my information? And he said, oh, I've been following you on Instagram for a while. And I thought, how cool is that? And this guy in Philadelphia, we're in Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
He probably has a jeweler or a watch store within a 5-mile radius of him, but he chose to reach out to me freaking, 2,000 miles away?
Yeah.
Because he feels like he knows me. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing. You're in social media is killing it, but people are on the internet all the time now. And once you get accustomed to seeing somebody all the time, I can't remember what the
the numbers are crazy. Like 27 touches. There's all different kinds of rules. But
so, but they
consistent.
feel like they know you. They see your family, they see your business and everything on the internet, and they choose to reach out to you instead of driving 4 miles down the road to this guy that owns an actual brick and mortar business. So how has social media helped you out?
It's helped a lot. It's helped me win some listings, definitely, that I wouldn't have won. It's always helped with like separating you. Like, how do you separate yourself from the competition? Well, if you had a question that I've done a video on, I would send you that video. And then you would start looking through my profile and be like, holy cow, this guy knows what he's doing. The know, like, and trust factor, though, it tilts towards you because we're out there giving every day, or it appears we're giving twice a month, but the content makes it look like we're giving every day. We're giving away the secrets, and that's the edge. Because Joe Realtor around the town, they may be referred, but when you go to meet that person, your guard is up because you don't know them. And, then you've got me who's been giving them knowledge for the last year at some points. It's just a whole different ballgame. So when someone reaches out to me from social media, it's usually a much easier interaction. And this is stuff that's been told to us for years now. And it took me about 1.5 years of consistent production for content to actually reap any rewards. Yeah. But I just trusted, and now it's something that is a huge piece of my business and something that I teach my teammates too. Yeah, it's changed the game for me. It's helped a lot. I'm not going to stop. I'm actually still trying to level up. We're still in this thing together. A couple of 40-year-olds trying to master Instagram and TikTok, but it's definitely something that everyone should do.
Yeah. And in our mastermind, actually, I think it was Neil that said this, but when you're first beginning and people may have 50, 100, 200, 250 likes or views on the videos, man, that's nothing, because you see all these other people, Gary Vee and people hitting, multi-millions of views. And someone broke it down. We were in the room of 1,000 people, and they say, let's say you only have 1,000 likes. Look around the room, and views. This is how many people saw your video. Yeah. And once you actually see that amount of people in person, you think, wow. Yeah. That's actually a lot, or even 100, right? You think, man, 100 views, nothing's going to come of this. But if you actually put 100 people in a room, it's like a big reach. And once you start growing that and you get into the thousands and the 10,000s and the millions, the sky's the limit at that point.
I was hanging out with Shivani a couple weeks ago, and she had just crossed, I don't know if she had done this before or not, but she had reached over 1 million people, or maybe multiple millions of people in a month. Yep. And I've known her for a long time, so I've actually seen her grow, and that's powerful. Yeah. I mean, that her message multiplication is reaching 1 million plus people a month. Yeah. That's impactful. That's influence. Yeah. And it's not like being in it. It's not like, here's some new sunglasses or here's the nicest Rolex, even though that would work for you. It's just having a message. Yep. So that brings me to one of my next questions, and I don't know this yet for myself, so you can ask it to me too, but with watches, what is your message, especially around luxury, because this isn't something that people need, or is it?
No, they don't need it, but a lot of people want it. Same thing with cars and purses and homes and stuff like that, right? So there's a couple different aspects of it that I like to put into play. Sure. Number one, we talked about what's the story behind it. A lot of times people purchase things for the story. They might have hit some big life goal. It's for a kid, it's for a parent, a friend, something like that. So there's usually a story behind it, but also I refer to a lot of this stuff as alternative assets. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have the Rolex Submariner, right? So, and you pay brand new $13,500.
Is that how much they cost?
Currently, yeah. I mean, it goes up and down, but so a lot of people, when they buy things, they see that as a sunk cost, whether it be a car, a watch, a purse, homes. Maybe some people think of it that way. I really don't, but it's not a sunk cost, right? Because it acts as almost a calling card, especially as a business person.
Yeah, it does.
When you're wearing a nice watch, people get attracted to that. And let's say you spent the $13,500, $14,000. The money's not gone. The watch is not worthless. You can eventually, let's say something happens in your life where you're either bad or good, and you're either upgrading or something bad happens and you need to sell. The majority of the value is still there unless somebody rakes you over the coals, God forbid. So these alternative assets tend to appreciate in value just like homes. Rolex, Lamborghini, Ferraris, depending on the specs that you buy, Birkin bags. Yeah. Luxury homes, right? Yeah. Throughout time, they go up. Yeah. Same thing with watches. You could have bought this watch 5 years ago for $8,000. So it's not just money that's gone. It's something that you can enjoy, and it's almost like having a savings account on your wrist.
Okay.
So it's
Savings account on your wrist.
yes.
That needs to be a video, man.
I know.
I like that. Yeah.
I think we've kind of done one.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ish, but same thing with a Lamborghini. Like whenever I see a Lamborghini, even today, I look at it and I'm like, holy cow, what does that guy do? So same thing.
Okay.
You pull into, let's say a real estate agent, you pull in somewhere with a Lamborghini, and a lot of people think there's a negative connotation with that. Like, oh man, this guy's making way too much money. I'm not going to use him.
Yeah.
No, it draws you to them.
Yeah.
And you're like, even the guy that does the YouTube videos where he goes up to the guys in the nice cars, right? Like, what do you do? Because people want to know, what does this guy or girl do and how can I do that? So yeah, it's not really negative attention.
No.
I mean, there are haters out there, but there's positive attention with that can actually improve your business.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I should buy a Rolex. So first of all, I knew they appreciated only from you. I didn't know that before I met you,
Yep.
which is cool. So that turns it into an expenditure to an investment.
Yes.
Which I can sell my wife on probably.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sorry, wife.
I know. It's an investment account right here.
Yep.
But that's interesting as far as like getting into luxury. So I don't have a Rolex right now. I have a Movado, is the nicest watch I have.
Yep.
I was a Apple Watch user until you started shaming me. You wouldn't even talk to me. We weren't friends for a while, actually for months.
Yeah.
And I started wearing other watches, and you're like, okay, we can talk again. But what's a good starting off point as far as like getting into the watch game? And is there watches where I could buy it could appreciate, and then I could sell it and eventually get to a Rolex? Or
So yeah, that's a really good question. And there's only, I would say, 4 or 5 brands that tend to appreciate. A lot of the other ones, as long as you buy them correct, like not MSRP, they'll hold their value depending on the market.
Okay.
Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, Richard Mille are the 4 that come to mind. Those are the ones that tend to appreciate the most.
Okay.
They're the most popular. So depending on a few things, main thing is budget. Number 2 is what you like aesthetically. A lot of people may not like the way Rolex looks or AP or something like that. So number 1, buy what you like. Number 2, make sure you're paying the right price for it. If you want it to appreciate, I would recommend those 4 brands. If it's something else, as long as you buy it correctly, it can act as that stepping stone. So let's say you're at a point in life where you can't afford the Rolex or the AP or the Patek. You buy an Omega, but it kind of acts as that savings account, right? So let's say you pay $5,000 for it. It's still going to be about $5,000, give or take a small margin going forward. And then as you do better in life, you can either add to that collection or even trade that in to get something better that you may like more. Or maybe you got bored with that watch down the road.
Okay.
So yeah, it's almost like some people do with homes, cars, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, when you buy that, you think, man, this is the greatest thing I've ever bought. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But then 3 years down the road, you're like, this piece, I don't really like this anymore. So you can use that to trade into the next thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Well, it's been fun having you. As we close out, I know you had some questions about investing or like how that whole process works. What were your thoughts around that, either flipping or investing? I forget what we were talking about.
Oh, there's multiple questions there. That would be a whole nother segment.
Let's go.
First off, would you recommend buying and like distressed properties? And first of all, where would you find those? I can't find those anywhere online. It's all pristine houses. Or would you recommend just buying and holding, depending on, I mean, everybody's got different risks, but for a person starting out in real estate investing, what would you recommend?
Well, you mentioned the different goals. So if you wanted to try and get now money, flipping is the better way to do it, because you wouldn't get any now money from an investment property or a rental. And where would you find rentals? I think the best place to find rentals is going through like rents.com or any of these property management websites that list rental homes, and look at the ones that are vacant for more than 30 days and just calling the numbers on there. And as long as they're not represented by a property management company, you'll get a hold of the owner.
Okay.
And you can talk to the owner directly about taking that property off their hands.
Okay.
The last thing that an investor wants is to have a vacant rental. And if it's been vacant and if you catch them after the tenants have blown that property apart part, you might be able to pick it up as a good deal. And just like watches, the money on any type of investment is made when you buy it. So call me up, make sure that, I let you know what the comps are, which I will, and I'll let you know what to offer for it. And we'll just decide like this is the threshold for you to profit whenever. And then you can go ahead and write an offer on that property and make some dough.
Okay.
And you can either make it quick by doing, light fixes, and the fixes that I like to do when I'm helping people flip are just carpet or flooring, countertops, and paint without reformatting anything. I think you can spend maybe 20 grand and add $50,000 to $60,000 in value. I've seen that happen many times. Or like a good rental property is something that's been rented to the same tenant for a long time. They just destroyed it. It's a much, much older investor who's just tired of it. You can pick those up and just do the fixes yourself and then have a functioning cash flowing investment property out the gate.
Yeah. Another life hack, finish with this, is knowing realtors. I actually I attempted to get in the fix and flip game right after the 2008 crash.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear was if somebody accepts my offer, because I made quite a few, now I have to fix this house. What if I get in contact with a contractor that ends up screwing me?
Yeah.
So come to find out, you realtors know a lot of these people that are trustworthy. Okay. So if you are if you are getting in that business, contact a realtor, because I was just going to go out there and just, willy-nilly get with a contract company.
Craigslist?
Hopefully not Craigslist, but I mean, you can get scammed. So basically, long story short, use referrals.
Yeah.
For everything in life, whether it be a realtor for, even if it's not buying a home, if you're trying to fix something up, get new carpet, things like that. Watches, you can get referrals for people that can authenticate watches, because you don't want to buy a fake, and there's some good ones out there. But yeah, that's another life hack, is getting referrals from people that know other people that are good at what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the 2008 crash, there were so many contractors ripping people off. I'll give you some quick tips on that. So for fix and flips, I've got two really good tips for you as far as contractors and how to do it. So for the contractors, you need to make sure that you pay them out in a draw. So sometimes in 4 draws, sometimes in 2. You give them a deposit to get the work started, and then depending on the length of the job, you either pay them the rest when they finish or when they need more materials. But if you give them all the money up front, that's the easy way to get screwed. And you got to kind of have the list of stuff that you want them to do outlined, and make sure they sign that agreement before they start work. And then as far as what to do in flips, I've seen people overdevelop. That's what I see all the time. People put way too much money into their house and try and get me to sell it. Yeah. And that's not how it works. You just need to look at the comps, buy it below the comps, at least 30% below market value, put less than 15% into it so you can make 15% or more. But the way to do it is to look at the best-selling comps and make it look like that. And I'm not talking about overdevelop it yourself, but make the colors match. So if all the homes have oak cabinets, they have nice LVP flooring, just copy it.
Okay.
That's all you need to do to get maximum value. Don't overcomplicate it and close the deal. But man, it's been really, really good talking to you.
You too.
Yeah, it's good. And it's good to finally have a conversation with you. And at least we recorded it. So then we can we can do it for the gram. Where are you at? Where can we find you if we wanted to follow you?
So located Reno, Nevada. I'm not going to give you my address. However, Instagram, JP Fetty.
Yes.
I'm also on Facebook, TikTok. I try to make everything the same name, JP Fetty, so it's easy to find me.
Okay.
All my links on eBay and stuff like that are on there. So.
Okay. Definitely wasn't asking for your address, your house address.
I know.
Thanks so much, bro, for coming through.
Yeah.
Hopefully this isn't the last one, and I will see you not before Vegas, in Vegas.
Sounds good.
Later, man.
Thanks a lot.